According to the results of last week from 22nd April to 28 April, the infographic of combat clashes along the front looks as shown on the map. Russians intensified their activity in the Kupiansk, Liman and Avdiivka direction, while it became somewhat calmer in other areas. The situation in Avdiivka has escalated. Just 2 weeks ago there were 68 clashes, now there are 250 clashes in a week. The most active direction is Avdiivka, 215 clashes. The least active is Orikhiv, 20 clashes. Additionally, for the result of the 7th week of 2024, Ukraine regained control of 0 kilometers. Lost control, including gray zone, 22.75 square kilometers. Hey, my name is Alex, and this is a quick update on the Russia-Ukrainian war from the perspective of someone living within it. The situation on the front at the time of recording the video. On the Svatov direction on the front, active combat operations continue in Kislivka. Russian forces continue assault action on the northwest outskirts of Kotlarivka. In the area of Novoselivka, the Ukrainian armed forces delivered fire damage to the enemy assault group. No significant changes. Fighters from the 77th Brigade shared footage of repelling a Russian attack near Novoselivka. Restoration of some positions is ongoing. At the same time, the enemy is actively conducting assaults south of the village. But Ukrainian paratroopers are showing bravery and professionalism here. Here's another video from this unsuccessful Russian assault attempt, supported by armored vehicles. Russian soldiers are retreating to their original positions. Liman direction. Russians write in their charts that Ukrainian armed forces have regained control of the T-shaped stronghold. This position is approximately in this area. Here's how it's depicted on their maps. An episode of shooting battles approximately in this same area of the Liman direction. Video from the soldiers of the 95th Separate Airborne Assault Brigade, Chasiv Yar direction. In recent assaults in this area, the Russians are storming with columns of mobile garages, improvised metal protection welded on all sides of tanks or other vehicles. And despite it appearing foolish, it partially functions against FPV drones. It becomes much more difficult for operators to aim at weak points of armored vehicles. For example, from this column, 5 units, we managed to disable 1 tank and 1 APC, expelling a decent amount of FPV drones on it. On this direction, a high pace of combat operations continues on the western outskirts of Bogdanivka, in the territory of Styupki-Golubovsky 2nd Reserve, and in the western part of Ivanivka. No significant changes. Footage from fighters of the 4th Assault Battalion of the 92nd Separate Assault Brigade from the outskirts of this same village. The Russians tried to attack in the Klishchiivka area. The result of the attack is shown in the video. Here the Ukrainian fighters captured a BMP after repelling recent attack. The BMP was equipped with a welded anti-drone net, Avdiivka direction. In Novokalinove, the enemy continues to press along Sadova and Pershotravneva streets. Russian forces have advanced northwest of Ocheretino, up to 1.2 kilometers wide and 1.7 kilometers deep, occupying hill number 245. Battles continue in the northern part of Ocheretino in the Hydro-Technical Builders micro-district. On the video footage, the actions of the Yasny Ovchi unit of the 23rd Brigade against Russian soldiers in the area of Ocheretino are shown. The Russian army is exerting pressure on all sectors of this front. A little further south on the map, in the same direction, in Netailove settlement, active combat operations are underway along Beskaravayny and Chkalova streets. On the video footage, the defense forces are inflicting damage on Russian soldiers who have taken refuge in private houses in this settlement, Kurakhove sector of the front. In Krasnogorivka, there is high pace of combat operations along geological and railway streets. Warriors of the reconnaissance strike unit Brodyagi shares episode of hitting a Russian mobile garage on this direction. The enemy captured the Machine Builders Garden Society at advanced north of Novomikhailivka over an area up to 3.6 km wide and 1 km deep. Video footage from this area of combat. On the Robotyne direction, no change are recorded. The Russian army continues systematic attempts to capture the remnants of the village of Robotyne. In the video, the FPV drones operated by the Roni unit of the 65th Mechanized Brigade are seen hunting enemy infantry, who rushed from the motorcycles and took cover behind previously destroyed equipment south of Robotyne. On the Tavria direction, according to Syrsky, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, the Ukrainian army have taken control of Nestriha Island in this region. For clarification, those islands consist mostly of marshy terrain, making them impossible for vehicles. Their importance lies solely in the controlling the mouth of the Dnieper River. The Russians haven't even constructed any significant fortifications there, as they understand that transporting vehicles through this area is a task too complicated, close to practically impossible. To illustrate, here is a map of Russian defensive positions in this area. And for comparison, the Russian defense line in a similar sized area near Robotyne. Therefore, it seems more like positive news to overshadow the bad news from the Donetsk region. I would like to be wrong. And this foothold, along with the one in Krinky, a bit upstream of the Dnieper River, will play an important role in the future. So the situation on the front remains complex, especially in the Chasiv and Avdiivka directions. But it could be much worse. Drones have significantly helped and continue to help Ukraine. According to a Russian military blogger, losses suffered by Russians from various types of Ukrainian drones accounts for half of all losses on the front. He says that besides FPV drones, their infantry are heavily targeted by strike octocopters, especially during rotations. Despite significant losses, the Russians continue to advance practically on all fronts, sustaining significant casualties, but not so great as to stop them. The treatment of soldiers in the Russian army remains at a rather low level. Just look at the tactical medical lessons they have in their army. Would a normal army provide its soldiers with tourniquets from Second World War? Only in one case, if they truly don't care about soldiers, and these tourniquets and training are just for show, for simulation. The main motivation for Russians remains the large payments for participating in the war. A one-time payment for signing a contract with the Russian army is around $10,000. In addition to this, there are monthly salaries and various bonuses. They are just astronomical sums for most Russians, who usually live quite poorly. And it is not like there is no money in Russia to improve the standards of living for the population. It's a rich country. It's just beneficial to keep the population in poverty. Such people will more readily sign up to go to a war in a foreign country for $10,000. To comprehend the real level of salaries in Russia, here is a recent survey in a small town. Mishustin in the State Duma stated that average salary in Russia is 73,000 rubles per month. It's about $730. We don't have such a salary. Who should I believe them? Well, our average salary is about 20,000 rubles per month, which is about $200. Don't believe anyone, believe yourself. The average salary is $200 per month in Novoshakhtinsk, dude. Of course, under such circumstances, there will be volunteers. Therefore, Russia continues to deliver tanks and equipment to the front, where they will soon deploy recruits from poor towns and villages as soldiers for new attacks, including in these very tanks. At the same time, Ukraine is not going to give up either. A mobilization law has been passed, aimed at improving the situation with personnel in the Ukrainian defense forces. And it seems that military aid is being restored, which is hard to miss on the roads of Europe heading towards Ukraine. And here are the shots of transporting howitzers filmed on the territory of Poland. So there are no signs of the war ending in the near future, unfortunately. Ukraine faces tough trials, but this war is not easy for Russia either, despite all the bravado of the propaganda. And that wraps up today's video. If you found this information helpful or somehow insightful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.